California Lodging Association, and CABI, California Bed and Breakfast Industry. And they've looked at this situation, looked at the facts, and they say this is an example of what we believe is an unfair business practice that could result in a suit and problems both for those operating illegal units as well as the county. So I thank you very much for considering my points that I made today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kravis, and also for your historical perspective. Mary Weaver.
I'm Mary Weaver. I've lived on the coast for over 30 years. I've had a real estate office there for over 20 years. And I've been coming to supervisors meetings for 23 years. And Johnny Pinches was on once before, I remember. I have a stack of papers probably 3 feet high of all the meetings I've come to. And I always try to I like to do a little visual, and I was going to bring a bushel of apples and a bushel of oranges and a bushel of bananas, or whatever you call a bushel of bananas, to make a point today, but instead I couldn't find a dolly, so I just did a little diagram for each of you to explain the difference between apples, oranges, and bananas in relationships to tables 1, 2, and 3, because it is complicated. So I took a picture of a hotel in another town, and I call it table 1, and I took a picture of a Victorian house that's a vacation rental house, that's table 2, and I took a picture of a little shed and called it table 3, so you can clearly see what the difference is between a hotel, a vacation home rental, and a single unit rental. I want to thank Supervisor Pinches for allowing those of us that come over the hill a little more time, because it really is something to drive 3 hours and have 3 minutes and talk fast and keep your thoughts together. And I also want to thank you from the behalf of my 62-year-old bladder for that last break that you just took, because it was hard getting over the hill and not having time. I want to thank the planning team. I think Jessica has done a phenomenal amount of work with an almost impossible situation here. I want to bring up one topic I didn't think I had to bring up, and it's this mapping error thing. It's kind of like if you keep saying the same word over and over again, people start using it and believing it. It's kind of, I don't want to say anything negative about Obama, but because he started this term, hope, change, hope, change. Everybody now thinks, they've heard it so many times, that hope and change are actually going to happen. You know, who knows? But it's been driven into your mindset. Hope, change, hope, change. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have hope and change. Well, the thing that's been driven into everybody's mind here is this term mapping error. And in my 3 feet of paperwork, I only found one reference to the term mapping error. Someone picked it up, loved it, and started running around with it in here, but the only time it's ever in writing of any document, of all the documents that I've been poring over for a month, is when McCroskey had an inn that was inadvertently omitted from table 1. And it said in the text of the body of the plan here, it should be corrected as a mapping error. That is the only time mapping error has ever been used to explain any mistake. So you guys using it today are using it, in my opinion, incorrectly, because this is the only time it was ever used. The county has these maps with asterisks on them that show how many rooms a hotel can have. And if it has an asterisk on the property, it means it can have a B&B. There was not an asterisk on the map for Mr. McCroskey, and that was the mapping error. So this 4653 thing I also didn't want to get into. A lot of that was because of the left hand not knowing what the right hand was doing. There were illegal units counted in the 53 because they were people that didn't get sewer hookups. They may have got a business license from the county, but they didn't get a sewer hookup from the MCCSD. So they were on this list, but not that list. And to get on the real list, you had to do maybe 2 or 3 steps. And that's why the 46 are the people that did the right thing. And then there were the people that didn't do everything they were supposed to do to be totally kosher. So that's my explanation of that. I made notes last night to go over the 14 points, so I can actually do this pretty quickly. Because I thought we were going to do this in order. Okay, point number one, I said, number one implies that we are only going to use what I call the faulty MCCSD data and ignore all the efforts that my group did. We did practically a door-to-door survey that in a way is being ignored. Ed O'Brien actually called me, the chair of the board. He called me on the way over here. He called me in Willits on the way over here today. And he said to me a lot of what Gail said earlier. He said, this isn't the list that you should be using. This list is not a good list. A good list that he suggested was the voter list. And the registrar of voters, you can imagine how much she likes seeing me today. But she gave me the form to fill out to get a voter list. And that'll be kind of the next step that my group will do, is we'll go over the voter list, and that's going to help a lot to compare what that says about who lives in what house in town. So the planning team needs to come to Mendocino. There's approximately 25 properties that the planning team and I are in disagreement about how many residences there are today. And doing a door-to-door survey, or having Jessica come over and I can show her different buildings. She can talk to Rick Miller. He can explain that the 5 apartments above Mendoza's barber shop are now offices. There's no one living up there anymore, but the sewer board thinks there is, so they still have them down